All right, everybody, welcome back to Skywatchers Radio, right here live on PSN Radio. Now, without any further ado, our guest of the evening is here with us, Scott Marlowe. Welcome to Skywatchers. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
It's always fun having you here with us, and talking to you is always a lot of fun. Pangea Institute, what you do with cryptozoology blows my mind because I'm not a big Bigfoot believer, as you know. But it's always fun to hear, folks that are involved in that world and the stuff that's been going on. Since last time we spoke, what has been going on in cryptozoology? Anything that I've missed personally?
Well, the only good news is for the last year we haven't had any hoaxes from a certain individual that I shall remain nameless that everybody knows. Actually, both of them have been kind of quiet. That's probably done a lot, although everybody has spent most of their time backbiting and backstabbing,
yes.
which seems to be a constant thing here in the Bigfoot field. I wish they'd spend as much time looking for the big hairy guy as they do knifing each other in the back, but what can I say?
See, that's one of the issues that I have with cryptozoology is the folks. Look, it's not that different in ufology. Let me tell you. There's a lot of backstabbing in ufology also.
Well, hey, I'm sure there is. I've got a few friends in MUFON.
Yep.
So I'm familiar. But then again, look at the presidential debate.
Talk about crazy. Yeah, there you go.
Let's really not go into that conversation.
That would have made Jerry Springer proud.
Oh, my God. No.
I had to go there. I can't stand either of them, so what can I say?
Yeah, I tell you.
I can kind of tolerate Trump. I can't stand Hillary, but I can tolerate Trump, and I like some of his points and some of his views. There's some stuff that really scares the crap out of me out of both of them.
Frankly, I think they're both sides of the same coin.
They are.
That's a major issue. Yeah, but Scott, that's a major issue we've had in this country for the last 50 years. It's been
I know, but
same
Trump
club running everything.
Same, believe me, he's more of the same.
He did very good on that debate, though, considering he was probably high on coke the entire time. I'm being sarcastic again.
Some of the greatest work in media has been done high on coke.
I think the New York Times did it right with their cartoon today where Hillary's handing him a hanky and saying, at least you could have come prepared with a hanky.
You know what was great about the debate? After the debate, they had an interview with Trump, and somebody asked him about the sniffles. And he said, "Oh, it must have been because my microphone was malfunctioning, and it was just picking up more sound than normally." So it was, and he's trying to make that as an excuse. I would have just been like, I did cocaine before the debate. I would just admit, I did a lot of coke before the debate.
That's what's really scary about Trump is literally he could have been like, yeah, I did a bump before I did a debate, and his followers would still be like, yeah, Trump.
He could have done it on the air, for crying out loud.
And everybody would
He'd
be like,
only wound up with
Trump.
more supporters. I think Bugs Bunny got it right. What a maroon!
Oh God!
But that's going to be our next
really
president.
Sad that you never see. What was it? Who's the one with the red giant mustache that?
I know who you're talking about.
Sam.
Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam.
Yeah.
Do you know that they've actually taken Yosemite Sam off TV because he was too violent?
Well, gee,
Yeah.
look at some of the cartoons from the 1950s. I mean, please.
Really? He's too violent?
How about the Roadrunner?
The Coyote?
You know what I'm saying?
They're not too violent? Come on.
Coyote's always trying to blow up the damn Roadrunner for no reason.
Yes, but there was a big difference between children in the 50s and children in the 2016s. We knew not to do that at home.
Very true.
That's true.
Very true.
That is true. We did.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, what's really scary is Preparation H actually has the first instruction being do not put on mouth.
Well, I mean, I hate to tell you, but in Hollywood they use it to take lines off of people. I mean,
stop it.
They actually do. That's a trick to take out wrinkles because it's got an astringent in it.
That's so nasty. Oh my God.
It is nasty. Of course, I would assume that you use a tube that has not been used for other purposes, if you know what I mean.
Ooh. But it feels good on the whole.
Hey, so anyway, about Bigfoot.
Yeah, let's move on to something more incredible.
Bigfoot.
In that vein, oh God.
It's your fault, Scott. I blame you for the degradation of this conversation.
Well, I was getting to the point that we had a little argument on Facebook earlier today with a friend of mine that basically that I was pointing out that there wasn't much difference between the debates and Bigfoot operation lately. So
oh, no.
backstabbing.
Here's the thing, though. There is more credible evidence that we have a legit chance of finding Bigfoot than finding a good candidate for president.
I agree. I've already
that's
decided
a sad
I'm writing
statement.
in for Bernie. So,
I
mean...
Bernie would have had my vote if he would not have come out and endorsed Hillary Clinton so quickly like he did.
He didn't have a choice, or he couldn't stay a Democrat. Are you kidding? Besides the fact anybody that crosses the Clintons winds up dead.
Then there's that.
Yeah, that is
true.
a little bit uncanny there.
Well, they're either extremely lucky or they certainly, stack the deck. Anyway.
You know what's funny? Bernie, who wasn't exactly a millionaire before the election started, he was okay, but he had reported he had less than like $200,000 in the bank or something like that. Before the whole thing started, before he ran for president. Yep. After he dropped out of the race officially, he went and bought cash a house for $500,000.
Well, that's nice. I mean,
I wonder who paid for that house.
Then we know what Trump is doing with the money and everything else too. So what's the difference? I mean, I didn't realize he had finally purchased Doral. I'll never go there again.
Oh, that was a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to know the owners of Doral, but I didn't know they sold it. So anyway.
Yeah, it's not that bad. If you're into golfing stuff.
Yeah, but that's down your area, so you know what I'm talking about.
It is. So, I'll tell you what, it's funny, though, because, not to go on a complete political tangent here, but down here in my area, in the Miami area, Trump is actually not that hated as he is in some parts of the country. Like, people down here actually like Trump. Like, he calls Miami his second home outside of New York for a couple of reasons. One, because of the Palm Beach, golf resort that he built.
I know. I used to live down there, so I know.
Yeah, so he's really well liked down here because
and in the winter it might as well be Manhattan South.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, that's very legit. He is actually really well liked. In fact, I can guarantee you right now he's going to win Florida. I mean, that's a given.
Freaking
he's
hope not.
gonna.
Of course, it all depends on whether Pam Bondi.
I don't care about that vote. I care about the other vote in Florida.
Well, we already know about the Chad, so let's not go there.
I'm talking about what is it? Proposition
We don't pick the
14?
president anyway. I don't understand why everybody gets so up in arms about it.
The
it's not our
votes.
decision.
The electoral votes. Oh no, the president's already been picked. I mean, this whole thing.
It's done. It's a done deal. It's a dog and pony show.
This is just a show in order to let us think we have the freedom we think we have.
It is. It's
right.
like the choice in the Matrix. That's exactly what it is. Especially those of us who work in the ufology field and the cryptology field, and anybody who's ever done a little bit of research outside of mainstream media. If you vote, you're silly. I'm just saying, you're silly.
Well,
I mean, if you just want to do it for fun, that's fine. But if you think that it actually counts, then you're silly.
Well, I mean, take the Aurora.
Sad truth. Yeah.
I mean, in your area, the Aurora crash is a great example. In my area, my God, I deal with it all the time. I've tried to go get DNA from the red-haired giants, and they've stopped me. And I'm not talking Men in Black. I'm talking about the government gets on the phone and says, you're not going.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, yeah,
wow.
really.
That's extreme. That's serious. Like, just nope.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that call yet for anything.
And then they seize the skeletons. So, fortunately for me, I know where there is one that in private collection, and I've been given permission. So when I am able to raise the GoFundMe or Kickstarter money or whatever I can do to get the test done, et cetera, for Pangea, I'm going to get it, and they're not going to stop me.
Oh, do it.
Do it,
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
You got our money.
I will donate, give money to that GoFundMe account.
We got your back. We got your back on that one. Way back.
I do appreciate that. We've got a few dollars that's been raised, but I definitely want to do that because I've got a very strong suspicion on the DNA results that are going to come out, and if I'm right, that'll be cool. But I talk about that, by the way, in my book, Bigfoot Enigma.
Where on the DNA spectrum do you expect I'm sorry, I got to ask, but where in the spectrum do you expect the DNA to end up?
I think we're going to discover a different human species that probably accounts for our big hairy friend.
Well, obviously, Big Hairy Friend is not the missing link, so it's obviously a tangent.
Oh, to God, please don't use that word.
Which
I'm
missing
trained in physical anthropology. There is no such thing as a missing link.
That's a complete.
That's what I agree with. I don't think there's a missing link.
That's like a 4-letter word, really, because there really isn't it really is the link.
Well, you have to.
Well, hold on. There is an evolutionary gap that we still can't account for between, where we are today and where, our ancestors, I guess. Is the best way to put
here's the thing, though, and
there are many gaps.
Many
the
gaps,
problem is everybody looks at evolution as a linear thing, and
right.
It's not. It's when we talk about family tree, we're talking about a 3-dimensional tree. It branches off in all kinds of directions, and it doesn't necessarily lead to the same place.
Correct.
So, okay, I'll give you that.
I mean, that's why I don't like missing link. Missing link assumes a chain, and a chain is linear.
Correct.
That's why I can't stand that statement.
Yeah, completely answered what in a better way than I was going to say it. So I'm going to say it anymore.
Okay, I'll appreciate that. But I mean, there are many families of man. But and again, I'll relate this to UFO. If there is a UFO connection, which I strongly doubt, between Bigfoot and ufology, because I mean, I admit sometimes there's all kinds of weird lights and everything, but then swamp cats nuts for a lot of it. But the bottom line is, I'm not so sure that they are alien as many people seem to believe. I think that what we're looking at, if indeed aliens are involved in any way, shape, or form, is Bigfoot is what humans would be if aliens hadn't intervened and messed around with the genome.
Now, my question following that up, though, is, Scott, why haven't we found one dead somewhere, alive, walking around? Why haven't we discovered one?
Again, I'll refer you to Bigfoot Enigma. I'm not so sure we haven't.
Well,
and I give some examples in the book.
I mean, government-wise, maybe they found something. Maybe they know something that we don't. But the common folks are like yourself, people that are out there like actually looking for Bigfoot. Why hasn't somebody come across an actual Bigfoot and either shot it or shot some real footage or done something to prove that these things are real?
Well, first of all, even with these electronic cameras, which are great, by the time you pull one out and the thing charge up so you can take a picture, the thing's gone. So, I mean, they're very quick. They don't hang around.
Yeah, but what about the trail cams that everybody spreads out all over the place?
Well, again, anything we touch carries our scent. They're probably way more into things like pheromones and scent than we are because we've lost those abilities. So we put anything out there, they're going to know. Plus, I'm sure at this point they recognize technology.
True. There's another way around it now with technology being what it is. How about flying drones over like mountains and trying to see if you can find them like that?
Yes, and Pangea just acquired 2 drones so we can use them for the purpose. Yes.
Oh, very cool, very cool. See, I would think technology is going to eventually help us actually capture something like this.
In time, I'm sure it will. Yeah. But if you know the story of Zaina, I'm not so sure she wasn't a Bigfoot. Igor's.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that story. You're going to have to explain that one.
The warrior princess.
Late 19th century, a Bigfoot-like woman was captured in the Republic of Georgia, what is the old USSR, and she was hairy and totally hairy, mute, understood commands and words, but really never spoke, et cetera, et cetera. Had several children. 4 of them died. 2 of them survived. According to the anthropological people in Russia, her son that survived, Kiwit, had relic hominin traits in the skull that they exhumed. They have claimed to have exhumed her body and she was human. However, I have severe doubts that the body they recovered because nobody knew where she was buried, all those people are dead, was actually her. And so, I mean, that you need to get Igor Borshev on your show for that story because he knows more about it than I do. But I did cover the story in Bigfoot Enigma and hit all the highlights. There was also a story in the same area coming out of KGB releases after the end of the Cold War, where they had captured another creature like that in the same general area. And these are covered with hair and lice and all that good stuff. And they thought it was a Russian partisan. And one story says they shot it as a traitor, and another said they let it go. So I don't know what the issue is there. But these things have turned up all over the place. And I'm not so sure that they don't bury their own, if not consume them.
That's interesting right there.
Yeah. And, of course, if you've ever left a dead body or carcass of anything in the swamp, or the woods for that matter, nature's extremely effective in getting rid of evidence.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
I mean, how many times
Thank you. I should start taking notes. Okay.
Yeah. How many times have you gone walking in the woods and found a bear carcass?
Not many. I would say zero at this point, actually.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, that's my point. And bears are about the same size, at least.
Yeah, but I also have 0 times of walking in the woods. I'm afraid of the woods.
Well, I can't say that I blame you. There's plenty of places that wouldn't be too cool to walk, especially these days. And down in your area, I don't want to be snake bait.
Or mosquito bait.
Gator bait.
I mean, gator doesn't bother me. Gators don't bother me except in February. I don't like snakes. I mean, I'm worse than Indiana Jones. So,
Good reference.
Yeah.
Now, we have a thing here on the show, Scott, which we wanted to ask you about. It kind of is Sasquatch related. It's a saying that we have. I don't know if you heard of it, if we told you about this before when you were on with us before, but have you heard of Bat Squatch?
Bat Squatch?
Yes.
No, I can't say that I have. I assume it's some sort of a flying thing.
It's a flying Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Now, there's a gentleman called Paul Dale Roberts who was on with us a couple years ago, and he's the one that brought this to our attention. I thought for sure you would know about Bat Squatch.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't heard of it.
Story. I'm tired of telling this story.
Yeah,
but you got to hear it.
Well, go ahead, tell me.
No, that was it. That was the whole story. He was on the show with us.
Oh, no. There was a guy, Paul Dale Roberts, that was on the show.
That's what I was just saying.
And
word for word,
he had claimed that he had encountered and was almost attacked by a bat squatch. And at which point we asked him to describe the bat squatch. Because, obviously, this is a critical thing in cryptozoology if bat squatch exists. And he's saying, bat squatch is usually obviously the giant 7-foot plus giant monster, that could cause some serious damage. And I'm like, okay, really? Okay, now how big were his wings? And he's like, well, they were about 20 feet wide, for the wings, at which point I just had to halt him right there and say,
yeah, what mushrooms have you been smoking there, guy?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm sorry, that wingspan is no way going to lift something that large of a creature, supposedly over 400 plus pounds. So, and at which point he responded, well, Sasquatches and UFOs have some type of correlation. Maybe he was wearing an anti-gravity belt. At which point I totally lost it on the guy.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I totally lost it.
Have you guys ever talked to my colleague Ken Gerhard? Because he's an expert on all these flying creatures.
No, haven't.
Oh, you should talk to Ken.
Yeah,
he's got a couple of good books out there, too. I just saw Ken up at the Mothman Festival speaking about flying things.
At this point in time, by the way, every time someone points something out to us that there's no way we can rationally even try and want to believe, we say, yeah, I'm going to have to call Bat Squatch on that one.
Uh-huh.
That's, we can't,
That's our way of not cursing on the air.
I accept that.
Okay. A flying Sasquatch with bat wings that apparently only 20 feet across can lift him because luckily he has an alien anti-gravity belt.
Okay. Well, that's about the same as my referring to he who shall not be named.
There you go. It's funny though, when we did a quick Google search for Bat Squatch, the one image that came up was practically slapper on the knee. It was hysterical. It was an image of a big giant Bigfoot with wings, but he had like the Batman jersey on with the bat thing on the cowl on the face.
Oh God.
Hysterical stuff, and that's kind of become the signature image for Bat Squatch on this show, and I'm sure everywhere else on the planet at this point. You would figure, look, Bigfoot is one thing. Yeah, Bigfoot can hide in the jungle or whatever, but a giant flying Bigfoot, people are going to see this. I'm sorry, it's just that.
I would think so. I mean, if you don't mind another shameless plug.
Go for
it. We never get those.
I just wrote a fictionalized story about an encounter some people had in Old Town, Florida, with a gargoyle-like creature that was about the same size. And it's interesting because when I penned it, I don't generally write fiction, but since I wasn't there to hear the dialogue, in order to make the story interesting, I created dialogue, so it's fictionalized, but it's based on a real account. And it's part of several short stories I wrote in a new book called Weird Monsters that just came out September 1st. It's on Amazon and all that stuff if anybody wants to read it. But I got a couple of cute stories in there. I like this one in particular because it was a young couple that the thing attacked, and they were skinny dipping in the Swanee River.
Nice.
Shortly after that. So it's kind of a gothic romance sort of thing with the monster intertwined. But then I talk about the Pigman too up in Pontiac, which is on the Florida-Georgia line. But that attack happened at a nudist colony, so you can imagine those are pretty funny stories.
There's some really scary, hairy-looking guys there, I'm sure, as well, too, though.
Oh, sure. And, another story that's in there, and I know you guys know this one, is because it's so Bigfoot-related, is the Barden Booger.
I'm sorry?
The Barden Booger. Yeah, you know what a booger is. A booger's a Bigfoot kind of thing, except this one has green fur.
Oh.
Yeah, dark green fur, and of course it reeks in the whole shooting match, but that's a cute story too. As Barden's over by Palatka on the St. Johns River.
Wow. Still
See, when you said booger, I was thinking about something completely different.
I know. I'm not talking about the kind that you blow your nose. Okay. But there's two more stories in there too, and they're interesting, and that kind of thing. And but the other book that came out this spring was Squallies, and that happened down your way. And that story really blew my mind when I did the research on it, because it took me a couple of years to research it. And that's about human-ape hybrids that were created supposedly at the Yerkes Institute, which was at that time in Jacksonville back in the 1920s.
Human hybrids, huh? Ape hybrids.
I've heard that before, but that was in not the Montauk experiment, but
no.
What's the island in New York that was supposed to be doing genetic manipulation and all sorts of
Montauk.
Montauk. Okay, it was the Montauk experiments. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I've heard about human ape hybrids that are actually more than capable of learning.
Well, and then the Russians attempted it. Apparently, they may have been successful or not. And the Chinese, not to be outdone, they've done the same thing. Ostensibly, we were successful, and their progeny still exist at a research station out in the Everglades.
Now, does the term humanzy mean
yes,
anything? That's what we're talking about, right? The humanzy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But what interested me is the whole thing interfaced with some nonsense that was going on out there, bootlegging at the time, of course. That was Prohibition era. And it interfaced with some things that were going on with Al Capone. And when I checked the stories that I was told and the names, it all fit. I mean, everything fit. And I'm like, whoa, this guy didn't die because he was fed to the gators by Capone. He died because he was attacked by these things, yada, yada, yada. And so I told the whole story through his young daughter's point of view. So it sort of comes off like I don't want to put myself in the same category as Harper Lee, but it's sort of like a To Kill a Mockingbird sort of thing. But I wove the story to through her eyes and what happened, and I got a couple of people who got very upset with me because they're used to my usual cryptozoology writing. They're not used to my fictionalized stuff. So I got some bad critics from it, but the story itself is based on fact. And of course, I told everything I knew. If I knew how they created the chimpanzees, this was the big complaint, or the human Z's, I would have put it in the story. But they're obviously not going to tell me that. Some of the comments you get from readers just blow my mind. But it's incredible. they expect you to read minds, and that's not how it works. And many documents that you would love to get your hands on, the government ain't about to let you touch. So what can I say?
Now, Scott, when you go into researching for one of these books, and it takes you a long time to do the research, I mean, how do you get started, especially when you have very limited evidence or no evidence at times?
This one started at Ripley's, believe it or not. I was doing a book signing up there in St. Augustine, and one of the people from down in the Naples area that showed up for the show came by, sat down with me, and told me the story, and I was intrigued. Of course, I didn't let on I was intrigued at the time, but I was, and I started looking into it because I didn't want anybody to start embellishing stories and things to get me more interested. If you knew how many people try to hoax me every day, you would flip. So I've got a particular way that I pursue stories that I want to look into, and so as I said, I started checking this thing out, and the things that I were told dovetailed with information I was able to find. And of course, that's historical societies and police records, and I mean, and then the weird thing about this story is, you remember the old Monroe Station?
Of course.
Monroe Station figured very prominently in the story. It was like, like Human Z Central.
Oh wow!
At the time, because everything that happened near it. But as soon as the book came out, Monroe Station burned to the ground, and and I'm like, what the hell? Did I get too close to the truth? Did the government pick up the book? Yada, 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 and want to hide something and make sure that all the evidence was destroyed. But, I mean, that really was uncanny. It unnerved me. Because, they seem to follow what I do, particularly when I'm talking about things like the red-haired giants. They don't seem to like some of the things I do. So
apparently.
Now, why do you think that is?
Well, I think maybe because I get a little too close to the truth sometimes.
Yep.
And they just, they've got a vested interest in seeing that it doesn't come out. And I'm lucky enough that, I don't hoax. I don't get involved with hoaxes. I don't want to get involved in hoaxers. I'll check them out, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do anything with them. And I think the credibility factor has something to do with it. I haven't had MIB show up at the door. I'm not going to say that.
I was going to ask you, have you had that knock yet?
No, but I've been
Mr.
expecting
Marlowe?
it. I've been expecting it. Of course, I got 2 attack cats, so I'm not really worried about it. But
there you
go. They're pretty good judges of character. Yeah, my particular favorite cat is sitting on the desk right now, giving me you know what time it is, Uncle Scott? It's time to go to bed. What are you doing on the air? Anyhow.
By the way, I posted here on the Skype chat a picture of Batsquatch, the one I was telling you about with the Batman thing on it. So check it out and share with us your thought on that image, that drawing.
Well, if I can get to it, let's see. I got to you put it on the there.
The call chat here.
Call chat. Where are you? I can see 2 of you pictured with PSN Radio on my thing.
If you go all the way to the right side top, you can see the
there
chat
we go.
icon. Yep.
Well, I still only see the 3 icons for you guys.
You got to click the chat icon all the way to the right top side.
I did.
You did?
It says PSN Radio added Pangea Institute Inc. That's all it says yesterday.
Oh, wow. You don't see the image on there. Oh, are you looking at the right chat, though? That's the thing.
Okay.
Because you should see everything that we share on here with you.
Maybe if I back out of Google here, I'll find it, because I had it up there before. Let's see. Was up. Crystal Storm with a laughing icon. Danny Burton's typing something.
That's the PSN radio chat.
You're in the PSN chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the regular
Yeah,
PSN
if you stay there, I can put it. I'll get posted on there. If you want to just stay there.
Okay, go ahead. I'll stay right there.
I want everybody's opinion on this Batsquatch.
Right in. It's great. Wonderful. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I would
something
love
like
to
that
see
is
that
actually out there. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, gee, are we talking Gotham City or Gollum City?
I don't know. Either or.
A little bit of everything,
Yeah,
that's the missing link right there, Alan. That is right there.
Yeah, well, give him the URL, then it'll be a link.
There you go.
Oh, God.
Man. And let me ask you, what's the funniest hoax you've come across dealing with cryptozoology?
The Bigfoot in the freezer.
That had to be the freezer, right?
What?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I remember that. You want to tell them about that one, Scott?
Well, that was He Who Shall Not Be Named with the other He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yep.
Former police officers, supposedly from Georgia, who stuffed a Bigfoot costume full of pig entrails and all kinds of other nonsense and froze it into a freezer in an extremely poor copy of the Minnesota Iceman. And, oh God, I went nuts when that thing happened. I tried to call Fox News and they wouldn't even listen to me to tell them it was a hoax. And of course they just recently had me on the local Fox station up here, talking about cryptozoology and some of my books. So, I don't know. It apparently at least got me noticed by Fox, but, all they want is ratings. That's all any of that nonsense ever wants.
It's a numbers game for them, like it or not.
I mean, it's funny how quickly they fall for that kind of stuff, though. I mean, and again, maybe it's part of them wanting to believe so badly that they ran with it, or maybe it's they knew it was a hoax and it's just another way of them covering up whatever might really be out there. Who knows? But they ran with that all the way.
News.
Yeah, then there's that too. A bunch of idiots. Fox News, yeah.
I mean, not to disparage Fox News, but considering
it's entertainment.
The people. Well, the people
News is all entertainment. That's all it is.
Well,
so.
the people they just let go should tell you everything. Anyway.
CNN is not much better though, Scott. Let me tell you.
No, they're not. I mean, they're all owned by the same. They're all owned by the same money. It's literally entertainment. How are you going to die? Find out at 7:00. Come on.
Well,
pretty much.
So it's not surprising that they run with those stories because it's probably a little bit of both. A little bit of we've got to participate in the cover up, and B, screw it. The people who watch, our news station are dumb anyway. Let's just run it because hey, ratings.
There you go. Can you imagine all these wealthy people laughing up their sleeve at the morons who listen to all the crap that we're fed every day?
Crazy. I'd be laughing. If I was them, I would be laughing too. How dumb are you?
I don't
you're falling for it.
Yeah, I'm giving away the farm here, but I don't even watch network TV anymore.
I don't either.
I don't go near it.
Yeah, other than sports, I'm the same way. I kind of stay away from network TV.
I have my football TV. I have my football team, rather. I have a couple of shows that I watch, but we don't even have cable. Everything I need to watch, I download.
Yeah,
I'm a Netflix. I'm a Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube fanatic.
That's it.
That's all I ever watch. And I even have a TV set that's set so that's all it'll play.
By the way, have you seen Stranger Things on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Watch it.
Watch it. It is incredibly cool. Very cool series.
I'll have to watch that one. I'm always looking for good Bigfoot shows. Most of them are nonsense. The only show that I've done that's on Netflix at the moment is Bill Shatner's Weird or What, which aired in Europe first, and then Sci-Fi picked it up. I think it's season 2, episode 2. It's on the monsters. But I'm at the tail end of that one talking about the monkey man in India, which is similar to the squallies, which I knew about, was doing the research on at the time I did that for Bill. But then the Monster Quest has some of the episodes I did on YouTube. Some of them are segmented and some of them are full episodes. But those were fun to do. I miss Monster Quest because they really tried to do a good job. They couldn't. And, of course, History Channel tried to kill it in the 4th season, and that ultimately succeeded in doing so by dictating what they were going to cover. And of course, I lost total respect for History Channel at that point. Because the next thing was
you won't be the first one.
Limp-wristed guys running around looking for antiques. That didn't do anything for me. But anyway,
well, that is a step up from Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, well, yes, up to a point. At least, Von Daniken was good for the first 2 seasons, but a lot of that was BS, as you well know.
Of course,
yeah. Some of the claims they made about Puma Punko made me laugh.
Oh my goodness! It's funny because we had a guest on a few weeks ago who's a very nice guy, John Polk, and he's got a book about Yahweh and how Yahweh was an alien. And he was Enki from the Sumerian texts, And so far, so good, right? But then he starts quoting Van Daniken, and his source really is Van Daniken. And I'm like, well, at that point, you lose me, dude, because it's just about everything Van Daniken says is either made up by him or it's just translated, in his own mind. He's like another Sitchin type. He doesn't have a scholarship anywhere. It says that he's actually a scholar of languages. He doesn't have any kind of degree for this type of stuff. And, we're supposed to take him at his word that, this translation is exactly what it means. Mind you, nobody ever translated it like that before he was around or after. It's just him.
Well, I mean, he's got a couple of good points, but there's, the evidence is meager at best. I personally believe that there was a more advanced human civilization of some kind that existed pre-deluge.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you with that. In fact, look, the planet's been here for billions of years that we know of, that we theorize 4.7 billion, maybe even longer than that. I can guarantee you, in that kind of time span, humanity or a form of humanity has come around and gone several times, whether it be through natural disasters, wars, whatever. We've come and gone, and we're still here in some form or another, evolved, perhaps maybe genetically manipulated by ourselves or by other beings that have come down. Who the heck knows? But the fact
that's why the giants interest me. I mean, why, if we have megafauna with many, many other types of animals, why couldn't we have megafauna humans?
Right. Makes sense.
Well, what about those 20-foot-long skeletons that they found and have started showing up in museums around the world?
Well, many of them are disappearing. I mean, I know the Smithsonian has had plenty, and they've disposed of them, or they've got them well hidden. And there are other museums where they exist. As I said, I've done a lot of checking in order to come up with these skeletons. A lot of them are in private collections. So there are people out there who are usually unbelievably wealthy, that have access to things that the common people don't know anything about. And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But of course, they make their money by knowing more than everybody else, which no one on our level ever seems to quite get.
Yeah. If I ever get that Donald Trump money going, I guarantee you I'm going to find out all the secrets.
Well, I'm not so sure he's got as much money as he claims. I think he's kind of like J. Paul Morgan or Getty or whatever. No, Morgan.
J.P. Morgan?
J.P. Morgan, yeah. I mean, Morgan didn't have near as much as they said he had.
But
he was backed by the Rothschilds.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that's also the case here with Donald. But it's still more money than I got.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is when we get the money, we're sharing the secrets.
Correct.
Well, I mean, now you even said, Scott, that, you're going to try to get your hands on something and from a private collection. So I would think that a private collection could possibly be a good thing if they're willing to let somebody, I guess,
I've already got it in writing.
Right. So, I mean, that is the good thing about a private collection. I think we'd have much better luck approaching, well, depends on who's got it, but those private investors versus, having to deal with the government or museum or something like that.
Well, and that's the problem. If I give out any information whatsoever that allows them to track what I'm doing or where I'm going or, who the source is, it's going to disappear again.
Right.
I mean, I've had that experience far too many times with far too many things, so I know better now.
I mean, how are you going to be able to be on top of something? If, say, you do discover some kind of blood or fur or an animal, living animal, how are you going to be able to stop them from, confiscating it and making it disappear?
Well, I can't.
And how are you going to validate it as well, too?
Right.
Well, there are certain places that I can send things outside of the reach of the U.S. government.
Mexico?
Now, you're asking me to give up information that I'm not going to do, so why did you ask?
Well, it's kind of like it's like the Hillary Clinton thing. Put all the information on the website and just give the secrets away.
Well, there's an easy way of dealing with it. You make sure everything is put out there, and of course, I would only do it with a double-blind study, but I've got several DNA labs in mind, and I will certainly have more than one sample to work with.
My question is a question to you, Scott, is. If there's such a secrecy going on within the government, why is it that we get reports from the news media whenever something happens, like the Bigfoot in the freezer, and alien reports, UFO reports, and stuff? Because that does break through sometimes, and mainstream media does play this stuff. Why even cover it at all if there's a cover-up and if there's this embargo?
Well, let's see. A slow news day is one reason, and another would be there's other things going on that they want to cover up so that they bury it in nonsense.
Good answers.
It just makes sense.
Distraction.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in many cases it's the O.J. Simpson trial. Not total nonsense. The only thing that was important there was the verdict.
Yeah. Which, man, they messed that up.
Yeah, well, we can go there, but I just the easiest way to refute facts is to throw out all kinds of misinformation. And now the CIA and all of the other equivalents around the world have social media and the idiots who believe everything they read on it.
It's funny you say that because
I think it is a great networking tool and also not.
But here's the thing for the
blessing and a curse at the same time.
But for this kind of field, and for not only cryptozoology, but for ufology and anything paranormal, we've talked about this before, guys. Where we're going to be the ones that gives ourselves disclosure. We can't wait for the government to do it. Social media is one way to go about it. If you capture something, post it immediately. Just put it out there.
Yeah, if you put it out there.
Social media is extremely powerful. I mean, I literally watched it with what's going on with the North Dakota Access Pipeline. I mean, that started out with just a very small blip on the radar, and now it's everywhere. And that is because of social media. So social media is absolutely powerful. The problem is that people don't have discernment, and there's critical thinking skills that are lacking.
It's a two-edged sword like just about everything. And the good news is that you can get it out there. The bad news is the government can hack it in a heartbeat.
True.
If not spread disinformation.
Very true. Yeah, but once it's out there, if it goes viral fast enough, I mean, there's not much they could do at that point.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's why it's great to have YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the others, and able to get it out there on all of them at once.
Yeah, the only thing you got to be afraid of is then they'll just start attacking the source and try to
which they do. I mean, our website is attacked constantly.
Yeah.
And there's no good reason to pick us out specifically, but fortunately, I've got a really, really, really intelligent webmaster who can get the site back up in seconds if he needs to. And if we get a really bad attack, he usually figures out a way, and has even fed back information. So I know exactly where the sources are and who's hitting us and when.
Scott,
I can identify it instantly.
How many times has the website been attacked in the last 10 years, if you don't mind me asking?
My website?
Yeah.
A couple thousand.
Oh, my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
I mean, why would an everyday garden variety hacker pick one particular site like that?
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense.
Well, and then, like I said, the big thing is credibility. People believe our site because we don't post anything that's crap without telling you we think it's crap.
Important. That's extremely important.
That is very bizarre that it's been attacked that many times.
It is. And I know exactly who's doing it because I can tell where the attacks come from instantly. I get a DNS address that tells me exactly where those attacks are coming from.
Huh. Are they all U.S. based or are they overseas?
Oh no. Some of them are based. Most of them are based in the U.S., but not all of them. Some of them come from Paris, France.
Oh, wow.
Some of them come from the Ukraine. Some of them come from Moscow.
Putin, he's up to it again.
Well, whatever. And I can understand. I mean, I have put things up there that have to do with Stalin's ape experiment, so I can see why they'd be interested.
Now, other than Sasquatch, Bat Squash, the Human Z, what other forms of cryptozoology do you guys cover on the Pangea website?
Well, whatever is interesting. Anything that we're working on at the time where we've got a report, we put the report up. If any of our Pangea fellows like Ken or Adrian or Adam, working on particular subjects, we get that stuff up there pretty fast. We all have non-disclosure agreements that we have to work under with specific projects and specific things, but the second disclosure's made, it usually goes on the site.
Gotcha. And does, say, for example, like the Loch Ness Monster, does that fall under cryptozoology?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So do things like werewolves.
Oh, okay.
Not all cryptids are the big five.
Right. Now, I mean, has there been any sightings of either the werewolves or Loch Ness Monster in the last 5-10 years?
Yeah. We again, on Weird Monsters, I write about an encounter, a lady named, oh gosh, I write my book and I can't even remember her name when I want to.
Oh, boy, that's not a good sign.
Well, it'll come to me when I don't want it. Lacey. But she had an encounter driving home from California after a messy breakup, and encountered one up on a rural road outside of Tallahassee, and I wrote about that encounter.
Oh, wow. Now, when we talk about werewolves, are we talking about a man that turns into a wolf, some kind of a wolf creature that just is always a wolf? I mean, what exactly do we think these werewolves are?
Well, I mean that of course is the traditional view of werewolves,
right?
And transmutation might be a factor. I don't think so. You're aware of the Dogman stories, I trust, and the Wolfman stories that again, one of our Pangea fellows, Linda Godfrey, has done a great deal of research from up in Wisconsin at Bray Road. So what they are and whether how they get to be the way they are is anybody's guess. I don't take a stand on transmutation. I don't believe in magic, but that Harry Potter stuff is fine for the movies. But I don't believe it happens in real life. So they're probably born that way, whatever they are, and it's just another creature that we don't know about, or it's some sort of weird mutation of Bigfoot.
Now, have you seen, and this, I'm trying to link it into the werewolf phenomenon, but have you seen I don't know if they're still that young, but there were a few years ago, there were a report of a couple of kids that were in the circus who were covered with hair and looked like werewolves. Have you seen those kids at all that I'm talking about?
Sure, congenital hypotrichosis. That's been going on for thousands of years.
I had no idea how to pronounce it. Thank you for saying it for me. That was a tough one for me.
Just said it. That was brilliant. Just came right out with it like
rolled right off the tongue. I could never do that, by the way, Scott.
Well, but I mean, you go back. You mentioned Enkidu from the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Right.
All right, there you go. Classic example. That's the first Bigfoot ever mentioned in literature, and it's the first piece of literature ever written by a human being. Okay.
So, in other words, this is something that's been around since the Trials of Gilgamesh.
Well, actually, if you look at the genetics, and I'll try not to get too terribly technical, but the switch that turns off the hairiness in human beings is something that is relatively recent genetically. So all the human reconstructions that you see where they look like they've been shaven with a Gillette Atra, bull honky. That's not what they look like. They all look like Bigfoot.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and there are many cases going, even into, they're very famous because there's even paintings that have been done of them, of people with congenital hypertrichosis in Europe from back in the Renaissance. And again, I got a book out called Bigfoot in Art History that subject is covered very well.
Huh. Now, with Montauk, like we said earlier, and the experiments that happened there, could there be a chance that maybe they created some kind of a werewolf hybrid with humans, and maybe that's what what this person saw, or what people are seeing also?
Well, genetically, no. I mean, if you're talking about a woman mating with a wolf, like the Romulus and Remus stuff from Rome, forget it. That's not going to happen. But could they do a genetic mutation by engineering the genome? Hell yeah.
Well, that's the idea. Yeah, that'll be the idea to do a genetic.
I mean, that's Island of Dr. Moreau stuff, but yeah.
Right. But, I mean, that kind of stuff is possible if we're talking about, genetically manipulating genome and doing it in a laboratory. Look, right now they recently put out there that they have an artificial womb to create babies artificially. Now, the government usually is about 40, maybe 50 years more advanced technologically than they claim, or they say, on the forefront. But at least that much more advanced in reality. Maybe even 100 years more advanced behind the scenes.
Well, if you can take a human genome to create human insulin, by grafting it onto an E. coli cell, and that's now technology that's about 50 years old.
Yep.
Don't you think they can go a lot further than that?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking some of these things that people are seeing are just mistakes that the government's had within their own projects that escaped somehow, and that people have this encounter. Next thing you know, it becomes a book.
And that's why Squallies. I find Squallies even though I didn't tell it in an extremely scary way per se. It's a scary story to me because it tells me my government is screwing around with shit they shouldn't be screwing around with. Pardon my French.
French? All right.
Well,
never tell.
We could go FOCH instead of the other way.
No, it's okay.
But the bottom line is that we shouldn't be playing God.
True. That is so true.
But that doesn't stop people from doing it. Well,
unfortunately.
Look at the sociopaths in Congress and elsewhere that get off by controlling everybody.
It's funny that you mentioned we shouldn't be playing God, but we are going to be doing that for the next millennia. We're going to be playing God on
at least
a lot of different levels. And it's funny because that kind of, in a sense, is the arrogance of man who thinks they can do something better than what nature did or what God did or whatever the being might be. And we're talking about in the future having a race of people that are genetically perfect. That's something that
God, don't go there. That's that German eugenics nonsense that was up Charles Davenport.
Yep.
We were doing that stuff in the 1920s before Hitler ever got started with it.
Of course, yeah.
And most of the stuff they did, they got from us. So I know what we're capable of, and I'm not deluded to think that we're any less fascist than they were.
I mean, wouldn't that be cheating if you start creating babies that are perfect? I mean,
yeah, it is cheating, but here's the thing, and I'm not a particularly religious person per se, but we all talk about original sin if you're a Christian. And you know what I think the original sin was?
What?
The thing that makes us do exactly that. The little bit of knowledge we got us started on a path to become God.
Right.
Okay, and trying to do so is the original sin.
Well, that was the whole purpose of the apple. She ate the apple from the tree of knowledge.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So, the second we lost the animal innocence of just being there and being who we are and what we were, and started thinking, well, we can do a better job of it, that was the original sin.
Amazing. The arrogance of man.
Exactly. And that's the problem.
That is the problem. We already have a question from Sebastian. I think he might have been one of the people trying to call in. I'm not sure. Question is, First Nations people, especially here in Canada, over there, have always claimed to live to some extent either surrounded or parallel to Bigfoots. Why is it that no serious research is being done in their lands? Seems like we just take their stories and that's that. Or has there been any studies that he's not aware of?
As far as I know, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Don Jeff Meldrum, has done some work up there, as Paul First with the out of the University of Ohio with the Bigfoot hair that has been recovered up there. I know other researchers like John Green have done work up there. John, I believe, has passed away recently, as I recall. But I know that people in Canada are doing the job, and I'm just sure that they're not talking about it as much as we do here in the United States because they're not as media happy up there as we are down here.
I wonder why that is. I mean, is cryptozoology big up there in Canada at all? Or is it just
it's enormous. Okay. It's enormous, but I think the people are more Trudeau-ish than they are Trumpish up there, if you know what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah. Another shot at Trump, right? So we went with that. Take a shot at Trump.
Well, I mean, if he's going to make himself a target and live in a fishbowl, don't be upset when somebody taps on the glass.
Yeah.
What an analogy. Now, Scott, I was reading in your bio earlier, you teach, correct?
Yes.
You have a whole can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, if anybody's interested. I've pretty much stopped working at the Florida Keys Community College. And I had been doing some things, particularly summer camps for kids at Hillsborough Community College. But I was approached by an outfit down in Australia, of all places, asking me to begin teaching online so it would be available to everybody in the world who was interested in doing any cryptozoology work. It's called yescourse.com. And my first 2 courses are up there now in cryptozoology. There's going to be 4 and probably 6 by the time I'm done that will include a field study, a lab research type course in addition to cryptozoology 1 and 2.
That's interesting. How does the lab research exactly go? I mean,
well, I'll tell you what to do and what equipment you need to get, and then you're going to do it yourself and post the results online. Now, I'm not going to let you loose without knowing what you're doing, particularly not with forensic reagents. But, the nice thing is you'll get a certificate and everything when you complete the study so that you can hang it on the wall. Granted, it's not going to be an accredited course because there is no accredited course in cryptozoology since there's no field of study at a regular college for it yet. But at least it's better than having nothing and going out in the woods unprepared, because much of the evidence that is being, quote, collected in Bigfootdom is being handled so poorly, a la the Ketchum study, that if it had any value whatsoever, the value is negated by mishandling and not knowing what to do with the labs, not knowing how to properly collect the specimens, yada, yada, yada.
How upsetting is that for you to realize that is a fact?
It's extremely upsetting.
It's got to be.
It's almost as upsetting as people who don't know what they're talking about talking on Facebook.
Which is about 90% of the people on Facebook.
That happens. I was about to say, you must not go on Facebook at all.
I go on Facebook more than I want to, but it leaves me highly depressed.
I lose an IQ point or two time I go on Facebook.
I had a doctor's appointment today, and the doctor looks at me and reads my responses to his little survey. Says, you're depressed. I said, yeah, but I got good reason to be depressed, doc. So that doesn't make sense. Don't give me any pills. I don't want them. If I got a reason to be depressed, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
But, normal human reaction. Don't try to drug me.
Yeah. It's funny because I've gone through a little bit of a depression myself in the last year with the passing of my mother and stuff earlier in the year. And my father was like, well, why don't you go seek therapy, early, this is, a few months ago when I was really depressed. And he was telling me, why don't you, get some therapy, maybe they can prescribe some medicine. I'm like, really? I'm 38. I don't want to start taking drugs for depression now. Like, it's a little too early for that, Pops. Like, I'll deal with it on my own. But it's funny how, everybody kind of, wants to drive you to that train of, medication will make you feel better. Just take some drugs.
Oh, yeah. Let's teach our kids that a pill solves everything.
Right? How about you just let time take its course and let, nature do what it's got to do in your depression. When you have a loss like the one I had, there's going to be depression regardless of how many pills you take.
I'm aware of it. My mother passed away a year ago May.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I feel your pain. But my point is, you know my background. I took pre-med. Mm-hmm. I didn't finish because I knew what HMOs were going to do to the profession. But the bottom line is, I know enough to know Big Pharma is full of what makes the grass grow green.
Correct.
And, and I don't let Big Pharma dictate what I do.
Mm. Yeah. It's a sad world we live in. With every answer is like, just take some pills for it. It's sad.
Yeah.
Sad stuff. Now, has anybody ever told you that? Say it again there, Alan. And we lost Alan.
Alan down.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
I hear you now.
To the Prozac Nation.
Well, that was enlightening.
Or you can take poor man's Prozac, or ginkgo biloba, and kava kava, and St. John's wort.
Or you can take the rich man's drug and just do a lot of cocaine. You'll be okay.
That's bad. I'm just telling you. Or just do
I'm
coke.
sure that Donald can tell you plenty about that.
Sniff.
Yes, sniff.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that debate was so classic yesterday.
Tell Sebastian I agree with him.
Sebastian, he agrees with you. There you go.
Totally agrees with you. There you go. Now, Scott, because people, your course teaches people how to, handle, anything that they might find in the field. Are there any other places or books or anything that you would suggest people read before they go tromping around and potentially ruin any evidence?
Oh, God, yeah. There are so many of them. We'd be here all night. But yeah, people need to read from qualified individuals like Dr. Meldrum, like John Bendernagel, like Lauren Coleman, and read everything you can get your hands on. don't go into it watching CSI on TV thinking, oh, I know how to do this, because you don't. CSI doesn't do it right.
That's a sad truth.
Yes.
That's all TV shows.
Guys,
Yeah.
Stop with the entertainment nonsense. Entertainment is not science.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because for a long time, back in the early 90s and mid 90s, I used to tell everybody, when I get older, I want to be in the FBI because I want to be on that program, the X-Files. I want to search for aliens. And I used to think that was a real thing. Like, no kidding. Back in the early 90s, I was a kid. I used to
It is, honey, but you're not going to get into it.
But it's the same thing. It's the
sad.
same thing as the books that I just wrote. It's fictionalized stuff based on facts.
Right.
And and I know the difference. Obviously, some of my readers who have written some critical statements about the books don't, which upsets me and leaves me feeling, especially when I write an introduction that explains fully what I'm trying to do. It just tells me people don't really read.
True.
And that's a shame because you miss out on so much if you don't keep up on things and even following instructions that you find on the internet are not necessarily the right way to do things.
Right.
But and I get all kinds of people contacting me with harebrained schemes that I know that their objective is to get on Finding Bigfoot or some other television show, and then they want to stage a hoax, and they're fishing for what they need to do in order to make it believable. Believe me, people, I've been around long enough. I know what you're up to. Don't try to pull the wool over my eyes. You just make yourself look like an idiot.
Have you ever had any, not a billionaire, but anybody wealthy or with several billion in the bank approach you and say, you know what, I want to take an expedition to try to find a Bigfoot and make it a legit thing? Has that happened at all yet?
Not billions, but millions, yes.
And why hasn't that happened yet? Or has it happened that just I'm not aware of?
Because they want to approach it for the wrong reason and the wrong way.
Gotcha. Again, it's all about making money, right?
Well, it's like the people who went into the Valley of the Kings to excavate so they could get front page news, and not because they were really looking for Tut's tomb.
Mm.
You just
Speaking of the Valley of the Kings, I gotta ask a question here.
Yeah.
What do you know about the wonderful possible caves in the Grand Canyon that might have had Egyptian hieroglyphs and sarcophagus?
I'm sure they do, but I don't know enough. So I don't think I'm in a position to comment. But I've seen things all over the world, particularly on the west coast of Australia, that tell me the Egyptians were better traveled than we think they were.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I got another question from the chat room here. They want to know if you've ever seen a Bigfoot yourself or any creepy crypto thing.
Yes, I've seen Bigfoot itself. Actually, the swamp ape is what I call it because it's not the same as the classic Sasquatch. I don't think they're the same species at all, but I've seen it 3 times. Once here in Florida, outside of Orlando, back in 1975, and twice in Texas in 2005 in the Big Thicket.
Interesting. Now, what did the swamp ape look like when you saw it?
It's same kind of thing, bipedal, hairy, primate-like creature. The neck doesn't sit as low on the torso. Its face is more human-ish, but that has white around the eyes. Yada yada yada. In many cases, and the foot is totally different from the classic trapezoidal Bigfoot track. It cannot, based on the foot anatomy alone, be the same species. And I have tracks from both. One of the major differences is that it has a very wide front of foot, almost like a swim fin kind of configuration, and the toes are webbed, whereas Bigfoot can splay its toes and they're not connected by any webbing.
Interesting. How tall are we talking about here for
the swamp ape's about the same size as we are.
Oh, okay, so around 6 foot tall, 5'11", 6 foot tall on average. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Bigfoot, we're talking about what, like 8 feet?
They can be as tall as a grizzly.
Okay. Now, has there been reports
What's the difference?
Yeah, it certainly makes a difference. Yes, that's one of the reasons why I think they're not the same species.
Is because of the height? Because do they look the same, or do they have different feet?
They have different features.
There are similarities and differences, and that's again, a thing that you need to look at my book, Bigfoot Enigma, because I cover all of this.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, that answers that. Now, Danny in the chat room wants to know, we kind of answered this earlier, but maybe he didn't catch it. Bigfoot and UFOs, any connection?
Well, as I said before, my suspicion, unlike everybody who seems to think that they climb out of a flying saucer and that they're actually aliens themselves, I don't think so. I think Bigfoot is what humans would have been if and Dr. Crick, who identified DNA along with his cohort, started thinking along these same kind of terms. I think our DNA has been engineered. So I think if there is an alien connection, they got a hold of the Bigfoot creature and modified the DNA to essentially do the Anasazi and the Anunnaki stories to create humans as we are.
So from Bigfoot to Homo sapien, in other words.
Yes.
Gotcha. Which actually that would make sense if they would do something like that. They found the planet full of Bigfoot running around, big, strong, hairy, creatures, and they took away our strength because we're a lot weaker, I assume. For whatever reason, they felt like taking away all the hair and just giving us hair in certain parts of the body, which thank you for that, because I would hate to have that much hair on me. That just wouldn't be good. And they made us smarter in a sense, or maybe not. I mean, how smart do we think Bigfoot is?
Well, I think they're just as smart as we are in their environment as we are with our technical environment.
So in other words, you don't think they're technologically sound at all?
No, they don't depend on technology anywhere near like we do.
Gotcha. But do they depend on it at all? Like, do they have any technology whatsoever?
Well, probably not in the sense that we have it. I mean, the European Bigfoot is almost always shown using tools of some kind, but those tools are confined to things like clubs. We don't. We as a rule don't see them running around with any kind of technology here in the States or elsewhere in the world. So I just don't know yet. Now, we do know that all primates use tools, even crows use tools. So, tool use by itself, you got to define what tools mean and what technology means in the context that we're talking about.
Now, where does Neanderthal man fall into this,
Neanderthal is an offshoot that is not directly related to Homo sapiens sapiens.
Okay. But, I mean, Neanderthal man, as science teaches us, was around around the same time the Homo sapiens showed up on the planet.
Well, there were about 6 different human species running around about the same time. Yes.
What are the names of the 6 species besides Homo sapien? And
Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo sapiens sapiens, and Homo antecessor.
That's a lot of homos. Never heard of most of those.
Well, I mean, if you're going to use that particular word, and especially in South Beach.
Well, that's a different kind of homo.
Definitely.
I was trying to be scientific here.
Yeah,
Scott.
well, I certainly hope so. Let's just call them H something or other. But anyway, there were quite a few of them. And again, that goes back to our original conversation of, the missing link is a misnomer. We should not use those words.
Yeah, and I completely agree.
There are gaps in the human fossil record, yes, but the human fossil record is a 3-dimensional tree, not a 1-dimensional chain.
I agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think we're ever going to find a missing link because it just doesn't exist. Never did.
Well, yeah. Never did. I mean, in the strictest sense, yes, we do all the time. If you're going to fill in gaps on one of the limbs of that tree, but if you're looking for something that is missing in a particular chain of or in the human chain of what was then and this is now, that doesn't exist.
Right. Now, with human DNA itself, I mean, we have thousands of junk DNA in our DNA. There is something called the alien gene, which we've talked about here on the show before, which science, cutely enough, named it the alien gene. To me, that would be the gene that was manipulated and put into us to make us who we are today, whether it was done by a god, by gods, by aliens, by whatever. Do you think that gene is also within Bigfoot, or is that just...
Well, there you go. I mean, 2 of our chromosomes have been merged. So we actually have 1 less chromosome than a chimpanzee.
Right.
So Bigfoot, this is what I want to know. This is why I want to see the genome of the red-haired giants. This is exactly the point. If the red-haired giants have a genome that is more closely related into the 36 pairs chimpanzees have than the 35 pairs we have, yada, yada. See what I'm getting at?
Yep.
Okay, it might help to explain what's what and what's going on. And that may very well be why the government don't want us to know the truth.
Huh, that's scary.
I mean, indirectly, this could turn out to be proof that UFOs are there. That's why they're on it.
Right. Now, do you take a lot of credence to the Anunnaki stories from the Sumerian texts? Do you think there's anything to believe in that we're genetically manipulated by the Anunnaki, and that Planet X is a real planet that took advantage of humans and created us in their image, their likeness?
Well, I don't know if I buy Nibiru, but there's certainly enough evidence to suggest, and even if you just look at the pure probability and statistics of it, there's enough planets and galaxies out there that there's got to be other types of creatures out there with intelligence. Now, whether they know how to travel faster than light, I don't know. Certainly there's a way to do it if you look at Einstein-Rosen. But another possibility is we're not that far away from being able to put human brains in cyborg bodies. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want something that's going to live for a very, 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 very long time, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, and it actually correlates to a story we read earlier here before we had you on the air. Bless you, by the way. Where we were talking about how we might not encounter genetic, aliens when we try to find aliens in space. What we might encounter is artificial intelligence, some AIs, some robots that are out there, and that makes sense in a sense where we're going to find planets and maybe there was life before and that life died off, and the remnants of what's there now is a robotic, planet full of AI. That's a possibility. That might happen here on Earth. In about a couple hundred years.
It may also explain the alien abductions. If you think about it, if they're trying to breed humans for a purpose, if you have a race of cyborgs that can travel, interstellarly, what would they do if they got here and they wanted to do things that a cyborg can't do, like reproduce?
Very true. Well, they could always remanufacture.
Well, yeah, but you're also dealing with an extremely narrow gene pool, so cloning is going to have its limitations.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And humans have a surprisingly narrow gene pool that they're equating to the Tambora eruption as creating a genetic bottleneck. Maybe that's true, but maybe we started with a very small genetic population to begin with.
Well, we started with 2 white people in the jungle.
Well, potentially. I don't know. Shall we all do a Tarzan yell?
Please don't.
Those 2 white people, they spread out pretty quickly, let me tell you. And, not too bad so far. A lot of people on this planet. 7 billion.
Maybe women had a bigger litter back then. I don't know.
3 at a time, yeah, probably, possibly.
God, stop it. My vagina is so angry right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh!
Thanks for that visual.
Hey,
by the way,
you started it.
Scott, are you going to be anywhere near here in Florida? Are you going to be somewhere doing any kind of talks or lectures in the near future?
Yeah, I'm going to be at Spooky Empire, and I'll do a book signing. I think it's. let me look it up while we're on here before I give you bad information. I think it's 12 noon on Friday, and then 2:00 on Saturday and Sunday. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend at the Orange County Convention Center. I think it's going to be in the West Concourse. September, October. Yes, signing table is at 6 p.m. Sorry about that. And then 2:00 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. I'll also be talking, you're going to love this one, because especially in the context of tonight, I'll be doing the Sick and Twisted panel discussion at 9 p.m. on Friday.
Very nice.
Then we've got an authors network at noon, which is we'll have all the authors that are attending Spooky Empire this year at noon. Then I'm going to be doing multimedia horrors at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and Intergalactic Terror panel at 5 p.m.
Intergalactic Terror panel? Where's that at?
That's Spooky Empire too.
Spooky Empire. Okay, so same place. Okay, good.
Intergalactic
I like
terror.
that.
Right.
What?
and then they recently drafted me to do a panel at 1:00 on Sunday. This panel will eat your soul. So
this is some of the best panel names I've ever heard of.
That sounds so good.
These panel names win at life.
I know.
What?
And then finally in October, just before Halloween, I'm going to be doing a book signing at Copperfish Books in Punta Gorda.
Oh, nice. You didn't make it out to MUFON this year, the symposium, right? Because I didn't see you.
No, I didn't go to MUFON. I would have loved to. Denise Stoner was up there, and I love Denise. She's a great lady. And actually, she's one of my sources that I used in the new book Weird Monsters for the MUFON information on the Newport Lizard Man. But in any case, that's what I've got coming for November. Well, for October, and then November, I think I'm going to do a couple of Saturday events in downtown Winter Haven that are, I think that's. No, we don't have any November. That goes to December. Excuse me. They canceled the November ones because of the holidays. But then I'm going to do December 10th and December 17th in downtown Winter Haven at the Saturday Market. That'll be in Central Park.
My goodness, you're a busy man.
Try to be. We just got back, my son and I, from Mothman Festival, and that was great. Actually, it almost completely screwed me to the wall. I bought more books up there than I've ever bought up there, and I sold out of all my books and had to order them and was sweating I'm not going to get them in time for Spooky Empire, and it was just confirmed, and they arrived today. So thank God I've got my stock back.
So all the earnings and all the money you made, you ended up spending in books you bought.
Well, pretty much. I've got some pretty heavy inventory, so come and get a good deal and have me sign your book, give you the autograph, yada, yada, yada. And get me my money back so I have something to buy Christmas presents with this year.
That's funny stuff.
The struggle of the authors, I tell you. It's a struggle.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I've never sold out completely like that before of all of my books at one signing. I've sold out of a new book, but I've never, ever, ever sold out of every single book I had. And I just like, whoa. It was mind-boggling.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they had like 30,000 people up there this year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was so crowded. It was standing room only, and they had me in a great location. I was right behind the Mothman statue on Central Park there. So,
wow, that's
very, very cool.
That, it's funny because I've always wondered, what gets a bigger crowd going, ufology or cryptozoology? Like, what do you think is a bigger crowd for these type of events?
Actually, I think ufology probably gets bigger crowds. The cryptozoology, because we haven't come up with anything concrete recently, has kind of petered out the interest. But as soon as somebody either comes up with another monumental hoax, please don't. Oh, God, please don't. Or something really interesting happens. That is extremely unusual. There'll be another upswing. But for the moment, it's a really good environment to be doing research, and that's what I'm going to. As soon as this foot ulcer that should be healed as of tomorrow, when I see the doctor to finally get the bandage off, I'll be back out in the woods doing my thing.
There you go. Any chance you're going to check out maybe the UFO Congress next year in February?
It's possible, but I've got a talk coming up in February up in the Ocala National Forest.
That would put a wrinkle in it, yeah.
Yeah, well, if it's the same weekend, it definitely does. I'm not sure. I think we're doing the talk. It's on the 18th at the Fort McCoy Civic Center or whatever. There's a community center up there.
It's a thing.
Yada yada yada. I've never been there before, and somebody else set it up, so I don't know what they call it. But it's a community center up there.
Hopefully, we can run into you next year somewhere at one of these conventions, man. We were at, like I said, MUFON.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a live show with you sometime. That'd be fun.
Oh my goodness, we had a blast at that symposium here in Orlando. We did a bunch of.
How about we do a Bigfoot hunt sometime?
I would love for that.
Yeah.
I am cautiously agreeing.
I'm down for that.
I would love for that, but I just saw the Blair Witch, the new one, earlier today, and I'm not too sure about going into the woods for a while because that's creepy. That was a little creepy.
I used to live up there. That thing is so nonsensical.
It's called fiction for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it's not true. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying. Scott, man, it's been awesome. We're almost out of time here. Once again, Pangea Institute, give out the website so everybody who's listening can go and bookmark it and check out your work and what you're doing and where you're going to be at and follow along.
Sure. www.pangea, that's spelled Pangea, Institute, all spelled out and written together, .us.
There you go, guys. Check out Scott's work. Great stuff, Scott. We got to have you back on soon. As soon as maybe early next year before the conference, because we love the market team.
That'd be great. Let's communicate. I'd like to take you on all out in your backyard down there and show you around.
Oh my goodness! Show some Bigfoots right here in the backyard. Hey, I'm down to do a little Bigfoot, hunting or maybe. Ape, something cryptozoology. Yes, something cryptozoology related. Anyway, I'd love to do something like that. And I'm an avid Skywatcher. I used to be. I haven't done it in a few years, but I'm getting back into that now. And this is another part of Skywatching. Going out there and doing these kind of researches. So hey, I'm all for it, Scott.
Well, we'll communicate through Facebook and see what we can come up with.
Put me down.
Take care.
We'll definitely be on there, guys. Stick around. Dr. J is coming up next in a minute here. Stick around for that. And next week we have another fantastic show for you guys. So hopefully you're able to join us again next week here on Skywatchers Radio. Until then, please keep looking up to the skies, keep questioning authority, and stay safe because it's a dangerous world out there. Love you all. Good night, everybody.